Okay, so I would like to go over a variant of branch logic that is determined by embedded data. Former video I created was branch logic as determined by the way a question was answered, this first question, whether they answered in such a way that indicated immigrant status or not. I'd like to show you how to do the exact same thing but using embedded data, and just a quick review of the or overview of the types of embedded data available. Out of the scope of this video will be going into the different types of embedded data in more detail, but that might be content for a future video soon. So this is just a quick and dirty example on how to use embedded data to make a determinant of which branch that your participant will see. And so I'm going to go ahead and select a branch and then scoot it up here. And then add another branch. And scoot it up here. Okay, and then the condition here is if they answered the phase of the immigration process is not applicable because they're a U.S. citizen, and that was selected. We're going to set embedded data, and that will influence their survey flow for the rest of the survey. And I'm just going to give you a little example, but once you have this embedded data, you can create an entirely different survey based on their embedded data. So let me go ahead and scoot that up. And I want to put it under here. Okay, so this is basically saying if they are a U.S. citizen, born or granted status, we're going to tag them for the rest of the survey as such. And so I'm going to create, these are the three types of embedded data that you can use. Three overarching types: survey metadata, which has the information in Qualtrics about the participant, the first name, the email. I think there's even IP down here somewhere. There's a whole list to choose from, so you can use those. I'm going to keep it simple and maybe go through those in a later video. Add from contacts, that means you can upload a contact list like a spreadsheet and use that, put that into a list of embedded data and just populate from there. Things like phone number, address, email address, name, and existing embedded data, which we need to define. It looks like I've already defined immigrant, but I'll show you how to do that. So just the first thing you can do is you can come up with any variable name you like for your embedded data. I would like to call it immigrant, or we could do it either way. We could call it immigrant or U.S. citizen. Let's just do U.S. citizen this time. Okay. And U.S. citizen will be 0 if it's not true that they're a U.S. citizen. This is a Boolean expression numerically of true and false, or it's going to be 1 if they are a U.S. citizen. So the then branch says if they selected a U.S. citizen, then we can tag them here as a U.S. citizen by just simply assigning 1 to U.S. citizen. And so that's just a representation for us that this is true, that they are a U.S. citizen. And so for the rest of the survey, we can call on this information to determine the logic and what we reveal and what we hide. So I'm going to go ahead and add another branch. And, oh, it looks like I did. Okay. So add another branch, and then this branch will be the opposite condition. It's if, please select the phase of the immigration process and not applicable U.S. citizen is not selected, i.e. they are an immigrant. Then we're going to add another element of embedded data, and it's going to be the same, it's going to be U.S. citizen, existing embedded data that we already created this label or variable. And then we're going to set the value to 0, which is false because U.S. citizen was not selected. So we're going to represent U.S. citizen as false in this case. Okay. Now we're going to do something very similar to what we did in the last video. We're going to stipulate the branch for the blocks that we're going to show. And I'm going to go ahead and scoot this up here. And I'd just like you to imagine that these are any point in the survey that you can call on these, because it looks like very redundant the way it is. Like, why not just, but you can call on this information in questions. You can call on that embedded information in the blocks. Okay. And I'm going to scoot this up. Okay, so this is going to be, this first one is going to be what the U.S. citizen should see, the blocks the U.S. citizen should see. I'm going to quickly add those. They're still in there. And the second one will be, of course, the blocks that we would like the current immigrants to see. Okay, great. Oh, I did that wrong. Wait a minute. Take that out. Select the block. Okay, 3A. Okay. And so now, in order to see these blocks, we need to add a condition for who gets to see them. Before, it was based on how they answered the question. Technically still is, but this is, but you can use the metadata. You can also use the contact information. This case, we're going to use the embedded data that we put in there ourselves. So select from the drop-down embedded data, and we're going to say U.S. citizen is equal to true, which we represented as 1. Okay. If U.S. citizen is equal to 1, then they should see all these blocks pertaining to U.S. citizen questions. And we'll do the same thing here. If embedded data for U.S. citizen, again, the variable that we defined ourselves, is equal to 0, that's a false. And then if that's the case, that is a false value, then they will see these questions related to immigration. And let's go ahead and quickly test out our logic as it is. Oh, quickly save changes and then test out our logic. Let's do a global preview. Okay, so this should work where, depending on if I answer this question, or if I choose this selection, that I'm a U.S. citizen, then the U.S. citizen variable behind the scenes will be given a 1, and then each block, there will be a branch that is either shown to me based on that or not, based on that embedded tag, if you will. And then for this particular, for any one of these, we will have an embedded data of 0 value for U.S. citizen variable, and then we will be assessed to see only the U.S. citizen branch. Okay, so let's just start with the U.S. citizen, or we'll be assessed to only see the immigrant branch for these, for any one of these. So let's start with U.S. citizen. Okay, so I'm immediately seeing the blocks for U.S. citizen, so this is a good sign. Another block for U.S. citizen, the second one, and the third block for U.S. citizen. And then this is the one that everybody sees. Okay, great. So that passed the test. Now I'm going to try one of these as an immigrant. Okay, so this is the first block for immigrant status. So this is good. Second block for immigrant status. And third block for immigrant status. And then this is the question that everybody sees. Okay, so it passed the test, and that is a test of embedded data logic. And again, go ahead and explore survey metadata methods, add from contacts. This example was done with existing embedded data that we created, and you can go deeper into that as well, but this is a good introduction to branching with embedded data.